Hi, everybody. My name's Catherine Ruhl. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am a textile artist and I do a lot of tie-dye and different types of dyeing in my practice. I have a YouTube channel and I teach workshops regularly. So I'm really excited to be partnering with Plaza Art and Jacquard for today's workshop. So Jacquard brand is a company that makes some of the best dyes that you can get when it comes to tie-dye, because they're very high quality and they're very vibrant. So they will not wash out over time and they give you great colors. So we're going to be working with the tie-dye kit, the funky groovy tie-dye kit, and it can dye up to 5 shirts like they were saying, which is a really great value for this kit. It comes with 3 primary colors that you can mix as you're putting dye down on your shirts. And I also have some other dyes that are from Jacquard as well that I'm going to be using. So I have the navy. I love the color blue. I also do a lot of Shibori dyeing, which is indigo tie-dye. And Jacquard actually has a really nice kit for indigo, but that's like a different type of dye. I have the lilac today, and I have warm black. And I'm going to be using a product called Urea. This is a product that will help you to get deeper colors in your dye. So I'm going to be using this specifically on the black and the navy to get a more intense color. So black is a pretty hard color to tie-dye, and this is going to help get a deeper color of black. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, be sure to put that in the chat. And how I'm going to do this workshop is I'm going to demo the folds first, and I'm going to do multiple folds for you guys, and I have visual aids here. I have 2 cameras, so I'm going to switch my camera to my overhead camera, and you can see my hands doing folds. And then after I've done the folds, we're going to mix the dyes and start to dye. Like all tie-dye, the results will not be ready until tomorrow. So they have to sit overnight to batch. And the reason is because Procion dye just takes time for it to get into the fibers. So let's talk a little bit about the fibers. So with all dyeing, it's really important to pre-wash your pieces that you're going to be dyeing, no matter what kind of dye you're using. So that's no exception for Procion dye. So this is a 100% cotton t-shirt here that I have, and I have pre-washed it. Best practices to wash it with dyer's detergent, which is also known as Synthropol. So that's a great product for you to use your coupon for. Synthropol is a type of detergent for dyed products. And so normal laundry detergent is used to get the grease and the dirt out of your fibers, and is actually designed to not wash out excess dye, because you don't want your clothes to fade after washing them over and over. But Synthropol is, excuse me, the opposite. So it will actually get the excess dye out. So that's good when you are washing, especially when you're washing your tie-dye after it's batched for 24 hours, because you don't want to have the dye go into the wash cycle and then re-dye your, like, the resist part of your pattern, the white part of your pattern, or like the lighter parts of your pattern. If you have like yellow and like dark blue, you don't want the dark blue to go onto your yellow. So if you don't have Synthropol, I would recommend investing in some of that. And you know, you can use, I have used like regular laundry detergent too, but it's not as beautiful of a result. So especially if you plan to do more tie-dye and you want to get more of your individual colors and mix and play with different types of tie-dye, I would definitely recommend getting some Synthropol. I use it like all the time. So anyway, so these are pre-washed cotton t-shirts. Cotton is called a cellulose fiber. So cellulose fibers are made from plants. So that is also linen, rayon, hemp, different types of rayon, like a viscose or a lyocell or a modal. Those are different sort of in the rayon family, and those are also good for Procion dyes. The thing that's really not good for Procion dye is polyester. So if you're using a polyester shirt, it will most likely wash out as soon as you put it in the wash. Like it'll look all beautiful and then you'll wash it and it will come out. So if you're going to be using a polyester shirt, I'd recommend having it be a blend of no more than 40% polyester. And if it does have that much polyester, it will be a lighter shade, and it could even have markings depending on how the fabric was woven or knit. If it's got like the yarns are spun together as part polyester, part cotton, which is kind of what a lot of them are, it could give you this kind of like stripy kind of look. But I have dyed blends before, so it's totally possible. And some people kind of have asked me about how to get a pastel look. So that is one way to get a pastel look, is to use polyester. It's just not as like predictable. So if you really want a pastel look, you know, you should just buy like pastel dyes or use a very like weak solution when you're mixing your dyes. So okay, so that kind of covers like the fibers and the pre-washing and all of that information. So I have, I'm going to switch to my upper camera now and show you guys, thank you, show you guys some examples of folds that you guys can use, you can do. Okay. So I'm using just adult t-shirts here that are size large. I have a few different things here. So I have, these are just cotton sheeting that I have, different patterns. And then I have t-shirts. So like I said, you can do up to 5 with this kit. And if you have not already entered the Instagram giveaway, I would really recommend it. I have that big kit and I've had it for a while. It has a lot of colors and I've done it for many, many projects and it lasts a long time. So I've also used it for ice dyeing, which is a little bit different than tie-dye. It's a different kind of tie-dye, but you use Procion dye for that too. It's the same kind of dye. Instead of mixing it with water, you mix it with ice and then it drips down and it gives you this kind of almost like geological look to it because it's like dripping onto the fabric and giving you this really cool look. It's like glaciers and the colors also split, which is a really interesting phenomenon because, you know, like this lilac color here is made with red and blue. So sometimes I have not ice dyed with this one, but most colors are mixes of, you know, your primary colors. So when they hit the dye, hit the ice, they split into different colors and it gives you this really beautiful look. So I have a lot of YouTube videos about ice dyeing. If you guys want to go and check it out on my YouTube channel, Onyx Art Studios. But, and I'm going to be opening up tomorrow's tie-dye after this class, tomorrow after it batches, on my YouTube. So you can check it out and just kind of like peruse all the different kinds of things you can do with Procion dye and different things you can do with the kit. So first of all, I have a classic spiral, right? This is like what everyone thinks of when they think of tie-dye. This is a classic spiral. Then I have a heart pattern here. This one is a little bit tricky, but it's not that tricky. We'll go over how to do this one. Then I have this diamond pattern shirt here, which is really fun. And this one is just done in rainbow colors. You can do any kind of color combination you want. And this one is done with paint sticks and string. I have a lot, so the kit comes with rubber bands, but I have a lot of creative folds that you can do with rubber bands and other things you probably have around the house. So we'll talk more about that. This is a Shibori inspired fold that I did with Procion dye. So this one is based on the Japanese art form of Shibori, which is usually done in indigo. So I also have a lot of indigo videos on my channel, and I really like the pre-reduced indigo kit from Jacquard. It's very high quality. It's a good kit for beginners because everything is measured. You know, I've done a lot of indigo dyeing, and there are many different recipes for indigo. And whenever like I look it up online or try to find it, it's kind of confusing. But the Jacquard kit has everything pre-measured, and it always works. So that's a really great kit. So this one is a geometric fold, and I'll show you guys how to do this one. Here we have just a sort of radial fan fold in rainbow colors and a stripe. So those are my t-shirts that I have to show you. And I'm going to go over, let me see here. I have some other ones that are, some of them are kind of similar. This is a scrunch fold that I want to talk about. So if you guys are on Pinterest or Instagram, you'll probably see a lot of this kind of thing trending. This is like a pattern that I see a lot. It's just a scrunch. It is extremely easy to do. So I will quickly demo that for you. And you can do that kind of fold. Another creative fold that I will show you is this fold with pennies. So this is just rubber bands and pennies, and you put the pennies underneath and you close up, you tie up the pennies with rubber bands. It's a little time consuming, but it's really cool, and it gives you this interesting sort of star or firework burst pattern. And this is another variation of stripe. So this one is similar to the t-shirt I showed you, but you just put the color down in a different way. So I will keep these over here. Now, what I'm going to do first is let's mix up my soda ash. So I have a bucket here. I have it full of just plain water. I'm going to get out my soda ash. So this is a third of a pound of soda ash, and this is going to be mixed in with 2 gallons of water. That is the ratio for this kit. So I'm going to get out my gloves, and I'm going to put my soda ash into the water first. So for the sake of this workshop, I'm going to soak some of the t-shirts in the soda ash before I fold them, and then some of them after I fold them. And I'll talk more about why I'm doing it that way. So I just poured in my soda ash and I'm going to start to mix it. Soda ash likes to clump at the bottom. So just make sure you're getting it all mixed up. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So soda ash is a fixative for the dye. It's a very important step and you do not want to skip it. This is what is going to make your dye color fast. So I would recommend following the instructions always to make sure your dye does not wash out. So let's do 2 t-shirts in the soda ash. And we'll get those soaking. And then I'll start doing some folds. So we can alternate time in this, or, you know, we can utilize the time best with the soda ash. So I just want to make sure that the shirts have time to soak up all of the soda ash and get ready to accept the dye. So I'm going to put this aside now. And be sure to always wear your gloves when you're working with soda ash. It's pretty hard on your hands. All right, and so let's go over some folds next. There we go. All right, so first let's do this one. This one is good to do dry. Which is, I think the stripe is good to do dry. And the crumple too. And the pennies. Okay, so I'm gonna have my visual aids here. So I have a drop cloth here to the side that I'm going to be putting down once I'm actually mixing the dyes and applying the dyes. What I like to do is do all of the work that is folding first and then mix all the dyes and then start to do the dyeing because it's the messiest part. So here's my shirt. I'm going to show you an example of how to do this penny one. So if you don't want to use pennies, you can also use like bottle caps or marbles or anything like that. This is just a few pennies that I have. Let's see if I can turn on the lights. Okay. So here are the pennies I have here. And I'm going to take the pennies and put them behind the shirt and wrap the shirt around. And then I'm going to take my rubber band and wrap the rubber band around the penny. And that's going to give me these circular patterns. So you can do different patterns. You can do them just like polka dots. You can do them in little flower patterns. You can do a line of pennies to be like a stripe. You can engineer a pattern to your liking and get really creative with it. The only thing is when you're doing this pattern, you want to make sure that when you're taking it apart, you're very careful not to cut your shirt because that can happen pretty easily. And if you have like a seam ripper, I don't know if anyone does any sewing, that is a great way to take these apart. So here are, this is like how I would do like a line, and I would just keep going through the whole shirt and then do different stripes throughout the whole thing. And that's a really fun pattern that's not so usual. Let's see, where's my scissors? Now, if you wanted to do a thicker line, you could also use like a thicker rubber band. These are kind of more thick, and the ones that come in the kit are more thin. Here, hold on one second. I'm just going to see if I can get, the light has changed here. Okay, hopefully that's a little better. Okay. And so that is one example of a cool pattern you could do. And I'm just going to cut this off really quick. So when you're taking it off after you've dyed it, you just want to make sure you're really careful to not cut your shirt, which I've done, and it's kind of a huge bummer. Okay. All right, so there's the penny one. Next, let's just do this crumple scrunch. This one is, like I said, very popular on Pinterest and Instagram, and it's also really, really easy. So I like to start in the middle and just start to scrunch it and try to keep the scrunches even. So you want to have lots of peaks and valleys happening with your shirt. You don't want to roll it into a ball. You want to kind of make it a disc. So I'm just carefully scrunching it from the center in on all of the edges. So just taking my time. So I'm going to demo more than 5 patterns, but you can choose your favorite or go back and watch them on the YouTube if you want to do a certain pattern. So here is my scrunch, and I'm just going to put some rubber bands around it to make it into a disc. And once I get the disc done, I will put it into my soda ash to start to soak. And the tighter the disc, the more white you will get. So this one has a lot of white, which means it has more resist. So always with tie-dye, the tighter your fold and your rubber bands, the more white or resist parts you will get. So here is an example of the scrunch. This one is really simple, and you would put dye on the front and then turn it over and put it on the back as well. And so this one is now ready to go into the soda ash. I don't think I'm going to demo this one today because I want to do some of the more complicated ones for the demo. So I'm going to take this one out. And now let's do our stripe. So here's a stripe example. This one has a full rainbow color way. You can do your stripes with one color, two colors, all the colors. You can mix colors. So it's really up to you how you want to put the color down, but this is how I'll show you how I like to do this stripe fold. So let me put this here. Okay. Take my shirt and I'm going to sort of smooth it out here. You don't need an iron, you can just sort of use your hands. Okay, now I'm going to fold it at the center front line like this. And line up the sleeves and the hem and the side seams. Then I'm going to accordion fold it into a rectangle like this. So the reason why accordion folding is so important is it's going to help to get equal distribution of dye. So if you were to fold it up into itself like a burrito, everything on the outside would get dyed and everything on the inside would not get dyed. So instead of folding the inside of itself, I'm going to fold it accordion style, which means every other going forward and backwards. So I'm coming forward here and I want to keep my rectangle even so you can feel it and you can kind of see that ridge of where that fold is starting. And then I'm going to come back. And then I'm going to come forward again. And this folds up really neatly there. You know, depending on the size of your shirt, you might have a bigger rectangle or a smaller rectangle. And then when it comes to the sleeve, I just pretend it's like just the same as the shirt. I just want to fold it right into that rectangle. So, and then I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. So once I get the one side done, it's a lot easier. Okay. So now I'm going to do my sleeve here. And let's come in with rubber bands. So I'm going to start by just rubber banding this sleeve part because it's the most unruly and I want to get it nice and secure. So I want to get that rubber band nice and tight. I don't want to snap it, but I want it to get as tight as I can. And I'm just going to continue to put rubber bands down the whole thing. Now I'll come at this end too. And if the rubber bands are a little crazy, you could just sort of push them into a nice line. So I'm going to keep going. I'm doing a rubber band about every 3 inches or so. Okay, so they're not even. So what I'm going to do is start to kind of adjust the rubber bands so that they're even. You don't have to do that, but I just like to do that. Bring this one up a little bit. So each rubber band is going to create a stripe. And I like to put color on both sides of the rubber band to give you a really pronounced stripe. So this one is another example of this fold. So for this look right here, I put red on both sides of the rubber band just to make sure I got that nice stripe through the color. And same here, and this one too. So you know, this one is another example of it where I did more rainbow colors, and it's less pronounced. You can see there is a stripe going through here. This one too, it's not as pronounced, but the more dye you put on it, the more intense the color will be, obviously. All right, so I'm going to demo this one. So I'm going to put this one in my soda ash solution. Let's see how these are doing. I'm going to just put this in. And let's do one more fold before we take out the loose shirts. Okay, I'm going to set this aside again. All right, so let's do this hexagon one. This one is a little more complicated for the folding. Again, it's based on Shibori folds. But I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. So I'll put this to the side. And it's actually building on the last fold that we just did. So first, what I'm going to do is take this shirt and fold it in the center front. And going to smooth it out. And now I'm going to fold it accordion folded like this. And for this one, I want my rectangle to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to just fold it twice. And then again, I'm going to just take my sleeve and just fold it into that rectangle. Same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so now it's all folded into a rectangle. And I'm going to start at the hem line. So now I'm going to fold it into an equilateral triangle. So back to geometry days, right? Equilateral triangle means it is the same on every side and each angle is the same. So it's 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees. And that's what's going to give you this like hexagon pattern. So I'm going to start by taking the corner of the hem and folding it into a little 30-degree angle triangle. And then I'm going to take this edge and line it up to this edge and fold it behind. So fold it behind. And I can feel that is my triangle. You can see that impression, that is my equilateral triangle. So next I'm going to take this edge and fold it to this edge forward. So again, I'm accordion folding this shirt into a triangle after I have accordion folded into a rectangle. So I'm just going to keep going one forward, one backward. So this edge to this edge, backward, and this edge to this edge, forward. And keep going. So now I'm getting into the sleeve part, which can kind of get a little messy. That's okay. Just keep going. Tuck everything in, just go slow to make sure you have your triangle. And then I'm going to put my, let's just cut the tag off because it's bothering me. There we go. Here's the collar. Okay, so this is the last part, and I'm just going to tuck it all into a triangle. So it looks a little crazy. That's normal, especially for t-shirts. Now on this side, it looks more like a clean triangle. So now what I'm going to do is take my rubber bands. Believe it or not, this is only 3 rubber bands. And what I'm going to do is put a rubber band on each corner. And let's see, I can do it 3 times. Okay, and now this corner. Okay, so here is my triangle. It is all folded up. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna put this into my soda ash solution as well. Okay, so my bucket is getting very full. And the free ones have been in there for a while. So what I'm gonna do is start to fold those. So I'll take them out. I'm gonna get my gloves on. And I'm going to just take them out and squeeze the excess moisture out. It's, you want them to be wet, but you don't want them to be soaking wet. So I'm just gonna really squeeze them out well. Now, some of the folds are really good to do when they're wet. So like the spiral is really good to do when it's wet, and the heart is really good to do when it's wet. So I'm going to just keep squeezing this out. All right, so now there's more room in my bucket for these to continue to soak.
Catherine, we have a question.
Yeah.
Helen wants to know what the difference between soaking first, then folding versus folding them and then soaking.
Yeah. So, okay. So for these ones that I'm going to do like a spiral next. And it's when it's wet or damp, you get a more clean spiral fold. For these sort of shibori folds, these are easier to fold when they're dry, just because they're like a lot more elaborate, I find. And then, you can soak them like this. And what also happens when you fold things dry and then soak them, they expand, and that makes the bind tighter. So it just kind of depends on the pattern, and it just is a slightly different result, if that makes sense. Good question. So we'll set these aside. Okay. Oh, and I'm going to do I'm gonna put another dry shirt in there. So that's 5 shirts. Just putting it in my soda ash solution to continue to soak. Okay. So I'm gonna put this aside. So let's do a spiral, a classic spiral. So this is damp, okay, and it's been soaked. What I'm going to do is actually first just cut this off, and then I'm going to put it face down. The reason I like to do that is that so whatever is on the hard surface that you're working with is gonna get the nicest spiral. It just always tends to work out that way. So here's my spiral, just so you guys can see it. So there's not enough room on my table, but here we go. So I'm putting it down front first, right? And then I'm going to just make sure it's, there's a word called blocked. Just make sure the seams are lining up and there's no like big creases. So then I'm going to come into the center and pinch and start to twist it. So when it's wet, you get a more crisp, even pleating with this spiral. Now you can see my table is not perfectly clean because I had a little dye on it and I got a little blue mark. So when you're working with dye, just be very careful. I swear I wiped this table down multiple times, but it still has a little bit of dye. Just happens. It's a tie-dyer problem. Okay, so I'm going to keep twisting it like very heavy. So, and I'm just going to straighten out these pleats. And continue to twist it around so that it folds into a nice spiral. I think it looks like a cinnamon roll, sort of, or like a rose. Okay, so here is my nice spiral. And I'm going to put my rubber bands around it. So again, this is a disc and I want to keep it in a disc form. And I'm going to sort of slide my rubber band in there, one on top and one end on top and one on the bottom. And I'm going to put one perpendicular now. And I'm just going to continue to put rubber bands around the whole thing like it's a pie. Okay, and I'm going to flatten it out. So this is going to be the back and this is the front. So you can see it has like a very clean looking spiral on the front. So that's great. So that one is ready to go. And let's just set it here. So next, let's do the heart. Okay. So again, I'm going to take my shirt and kind of block it, get it all straight. Put this down here. Okay. Getting my sleeves even. Okay. And the body of the t-shirt, nice and smooth. So now I'm going to fold it in the center front. And just going to put it together like this. And smooth it out. All right, so now I'm going to take a pencil. It's best to have like a fabric marker, but I don't have one. So I'm just going to kind of wing it with pencil. And I don't want to like mark it really, really dark because this is going to be the resist. So I just want to kind of mark a little line for myself and draw half a heart. Again, it does not have to be perfect. So this one is good to do wet because, again, you're going to get that really sharp plate. So you can see the kind of indentation I have here for that half heart. Okay, and this is what the finished product looks like this. So, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to fold here. And I'm going to just do tiny little pleats. And I want to try to line up that line that I've made for myself so that it is a straight line. It's a little tricky, but you can do it. So I'm just pleating it ever so carefully. And it's going to make like a little bubble here. Excuse me. Okay. So my line is very faint. It's probably hard to see on camera, but I can see it. So I'm going to put a rubber band around it. And really tighten it up. Okay, so for this one, that's the only fold I'm going to do. And then I'm going to add color like along this free part. You can also do like, you can put more rubber bands on it if you want, but for this one, I'm just going to leave it and it's stamped. So this one's good to go. All right, so okay, we're going to do the last one here. Taking it out. And I'm going to do the diamond fold. So first, what I'm going to do is take my shirt, and this one is nicely blocked already. It's like, doesn't need a lot of track. So here's my diamond. This is what it looks like. This one has been done with paint sticks and string. You can also use rubber bands. You don't have string. Maybe I will do a variation of this in case you don't have paint sticks. Because you can use this crisscross fold for everything, for a lot of things. So first I'm going to fold it. No, sorry. First I'm going to fold it like this. Center front, always center front. And I'm just blocking it here, getting it all even and nice. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to fold it along the halfway point this way. Like that. So it's like into quarters. Okay, and then I'm gonna take, this is like the center of my diamond. This is the center of my shirt, center of my diamond. So I'm gonna put it up here to my corner of the shoulder. So it's like a handkerchief fold diagonal, and then I'm going to accordion fold it. So I'm gonna fold it this way, and then this way. For this one, okay, so if you have paint sticks, this is just a piece of wood that's like about the same size as a paint stick. And I used it to stir up soda ash, so it's a dual purpose thing. You just want to make sure you have a little excess of fabric on either side of your paint stick. So that is a good width for this one. And I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on this side. Okay. And if it doesn't line up perfectly, again, it's fine. It's just, you just want to get this sort of like rectangle shape in general happening. So now I'm going to take my paint stick, one on top and one on bottom, and I'm like literally going to sandwich it like this. Okay. And then I have some string here. If you want to use string, this is, I mean, I use string to make this example one. So I'm going to show you how I did it. And then I'm going to do another variation in case you don't have paint sticks. But I'm just going to show you exactly how I made this example. So first I like to tie it like super tight in the middle, because the middle is the thickest part. And then I take my string and I start to wrap it around the whole thing. And I'm going to go, and I'm wrapping it as tight as I can. So, and then I'm going to go to the end on one side here, and then I'm going to come backwards to the center. And then I'm going to come to the other side and just come back again. Here's my scissors. Here they are. Okay. So then I have this little tail that I had from the original knot in the center, and I'm going to just tie it off. So again, you know, tie-dye is extremely creative, and this is a really fun fold. And this is how I made this one. And then today what I'm going to do is actually do something slightly different. And then we'll see exactly how it turns out tomorrow when I open it. So take out this string. Another thing I love to use when I'm doing different folds is tongue depressors. You can do similar things. Popsicle sticks, chopsticks, all kinds of things. You can really have a lot of fun. So for this one, I'm going to just keep this same fold, right? But what I'm going to do is actually just come in with rubber bands and put them like this. So same diamond fold, but it's going to look a little bit different. So let's put, I see a question. Does it matter if the string is cotton? No. You can use whatever kind of string you have on hand. You know, a lot of people like to use sinew just because you can stretch it super duper tight. But I usually just use, like, this is a really fine cotton twine, like kitchen twine. You can use, you know, I mean, sinew, you're going to get it the tightest, but you can use anything. Okie dokes. So let's see, I'm going to do one more rubber band in the middle. So this is my center, this little triangle tip. So I want to make sure I have like a rubber band right on there. So let's do that. Here is my center right there. That's going to be the thickest part of your whole fold. All right, so they're evenly spaced. I think that looks good. And this is already soaked for a little bit, but I didn't soak it for the full time. So I'm going to actually put this back into my soda ash. And then I'm going to start to mix up my dyes. All right. So let's get mixing. So I have some plastic here. This is just, I like to cut up like trash bags and put them on my table. Obviously, if you can do this outside, that's great too. I'm doing this inside today, but it's up to you. All right, so I have my kit and it comes with the yellow, green, yellow, blue, and red. And it's actually turquoise, yellow, and magenta. Let's see here. Pretty sure. Yeah, turquoise, magenta, and yellow. And you know, you can also order all the Jacquard dyes separately, and they have a really cool thing on their website where you can mix your dyes to get custom colors, which is really cool. So really the sky's the limit when it comes to colors. So I have also got black, lilac, and the navy. And then I also have this one, which is teal. This is one of my favorite colors for ice dyeing. It has really cool splits. It's just a really pretty color. It's also really pretty for tie-dye. So I'm going to use a variety of colors today. And I have just some water here. So what I'm going to do, first, let's mix in some urea to my black. I put the dye in these bottles before the workshop. I have about a teaspoon of each one in these little 4-ounce bottles. For the black, I did a little more, probably about 2 teaspoons, just because black is one of those colors that you just need a little bit more dye. And this one says for every 8 ounces to use a tablespoon. So this is going to be 4 ounces. So I really need half of that, which is, 1.5 teaspoons. Hold on. I don't want to make a huge mess. Of course, I don't have let's see if I can just make a little funnel. I don't know if this is going to work. Okay. All right, I think that's about 2 teaspoons. Okay, cool. Put this aside. And let's get this one mixed up. So I have some just plain water here. I'm gonna put some water in there. Okay. So I'm gonna put on my cap and just mix it. I can hear it's like rattling around in there. So I just want to make sure it's really well mixed. I'm gonna keep shaking it for a minute here. And then I'm gonna let this just sit for a little bit while I mix up the other ones. So here's my magenta. And you're gonna add it to the line. And it's all pre-measured from the kit. You just want to make sure you don't have any powder at the bottom. So this dye will last a few days. It's best on the first day. And oh, sorry, it's best on the first day. But I do tend to keep my dyes just so that when I open them, if I want to add any dye to the piece, like let's say it just got like a little more resist than I was anticipating, you know, I can touch it up. And then you can just let it batch, you know, for a few, like another day, or I'd say minimum like 8 hours, just in case you know, you see something you don't really like. You know, also, if you do tie dye and you aren't happy with the results, you can just re-tie it up and re-tie dye it. You know, there's always that. And you can also, you can do discharge dyeing, which is a little bit unpredictable, but it can be really cool. So that means like taking the dye out of your shirt. So I've done a lot of reverse tie dye with different types of things. You can, I mean, you know, obviously the easiest thing to use is bleach, which is not really the best for your fabrics, but you can use it. And you can also use something called Out White Bright, which is a laundry product that will also remove your dye. It's best to do that outside. You can also use, there's a thing called decolorant that Jacquard has that is also really cool. And that is like you can spray it on and it's heat activated. So, you know, you can really get creative with different types of discharge dyeing as well. You can also start with a black t-shirt, discharge dye it, and then, or reverse tie dye it. I'm using those terms interchangeably. And then you can re-dye it on top. And again, I have a lot of reverse tie-dye videos on my channel if you're interested in kind of seeing different results. You know, the thing about it is that it's not always predictable what color you're going to get. Like if you are discharge dyeing something, it might turn into like a lighter color of whatever it is you're dyeing, or a totally unpredictable color. Like I did a magenta shirt and I reverse tie-dyed it and it turned like orange, which I was not expecting. I was expecting it to be like pink maybe, but you know, there's a lot of fun you can have with the discharge dyeing. Okay, so I'm just trying to get this like extra mixed up. So, oops, that one's a little too full. Oh well. Just want to make sure it's like really well mixed. This one being summer. Okay. Okay, so now let's put my shirts on my plastic, get them out of soda ash. So here's my stripe. The way I like to do it is to put all of my shirts on the plastic, spaced out, and then dye everything at one time, and then turn it over and do the backs. Some people like to use a cookie rack, like a cooling rack too. That's a good idea. I'm not going to use one today. I'm just gonna let it sort of sit in the excess dye. I don't really mind that look. But if you have one, the thing about it is if you use anything for cooking, for dyeing, like you don't want to use it for cooking again. So if you have a cookie sheet you don't care about, then go for it. And that will help to keep the pieces elevated and not have the dye mixing and pooling underneath it. Oh shoot, my urea just fell. Here, let's put this urea in plastic bag. All right. So I'm going to save this for later. This is plenty of urea for many, many projects. And you can use this in also like indigo vats and stuff. This just helps to make the dye more viscous, and then it dries more slowly, which makes it give you a deeper tone. So it's a good thing to get deeper, more intense colors. All right, so I want to get my base nice and tidy so that I can dye. And I also have, you can use cling wrap, but I'm going to have these Ziplocs here to put each shirt in to, I see a question here. I'm going to put each shirt into a bag to batch overnight. You can also use cling wrap if you have that. I just have these bags here. I added the urea to the black. So I am going to make sure it's nice and mixed up. So especially for black, black is like a very hard color to get black, like will turn kind of gray a lot of the time. So I am using urea in the black. And for 4 ounce, yes.
Judith is actually asking, when do you add urea in the ash? It sounds like you're adding it to the color.
Yes, I am. Yes, exactly. I added it to the color.
Okay, and is there just follow the directions?
Yeah, that's what the directions on the urea say.
It does say to put it in the color.
Yeah,
and I
I've
assume
never
it tells
added
you
it
the
to the soda ash.
percentages for the.
I've never added it to the soda ash before.
Okay.
It just
No,
says
I mean,
to
it makes sense if they're trying, if it's to enhance color, that you're using it with specific colors that need enhancement.
right.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's do it. I am going to, let's see. Let's start with my diamond piece. Okay. So as you can see, I got a little blue on it. I don't know. Maybe it's for my gloves. I was really trying to avoid it, but it just happened. So let's do, so that looks like this navy. So what I'm going to do, okay, this is very full. So I'm going to be very careful when I'm opening. When you take the caps off, it can be very, yeah. Okay. It's dripping everywhere. I'm going to go grab a paper towel real quick. That's another pro tip. Have a rag on hand. Okay, so I have a paper towel, rag or paper towel. Both are good. So, okay, here we go. So here's my navy, and I'm going to start with it in the center here. And I'm just being kind of careful when I add it. I don't want to like, I don't like to soak it. I like to kind of carefully add it so that it doesn't get everywhere. I like to kind of work kind of clean. All right, so there's my navy here, and let's just, what I'm gonna do is put this so that the folds are facing up towards me when I'm adding the dye. So now let's use yellow next. Here's my yellow. All right, so for the yellow, let's come in here. I'm just gonna do all the colors on all of them, and then I'll turn them over and do the rest. So gonna do yellow here and come in here. I'm gonna do a piece of my spiral. So for each spiral, you want to do like a piece of the pie for each color. So I'm doing yellow there. Now for my diamond one, I think I'll do some yellow here. Maybe a little here. We'll just kind of keep it symmetrical. All right. So that's, I might come in more with more yellow in a minute, but now I'm going to do, I have this teal color that is a really nice color. So let's open that up. I'm going to come in next to the yellow with the teal. And for my stripe, I'm going to do teal here. And I'm going to kind of mix it with this yellow. For the turquoise, I'm going to open up my turquoise. Okay, turquoise is a really nice one. So let's do turquoise here. And again, I'm going to kind of mix it in with the teal. Coming in with some more turquoise. And you know, you can do the colors however you like. It's really personal thing. Let's do turquoise up here. Now for my heart, let's do magenta. I'm going to put magenta on the heart here. And this whole center is going to be some magenta. Okay, now for my triangle one, I'm going to do magenta on one corner. So what I like to do for this one is do the corners all different colors. So what I'll do is magenta, navy, and purple, but lilac color. Okay. Okay, so then let's do navy here. Next on my spiral. I want to do an orange, but I don't have orange, so I'm going to mix yellow and magenta. And then I'll do magenta also over here. Now, I don't want the magenta to mix with the green because that is going to give me like a brown. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. I mean, sometimes it happens, but try, you don't want to really mix opposite colors unless you want like a neutral color. Obviously, there is always the option for that, but let's do lilac here. And then I'm going to mix magenta and lilac right in this one. Okay. So this one I'm going to turn over and do the same thing on the other side. So once you get the first side done, you're going to want to do the same thing on the other side if you want it to be the same on both sides. Oops, that one just dripped. So for my magenta, I'm just going to keep putting it in the middle. I want to make sure that's nice and soaked. And now I'm going to come in with my purple. And navy. Little turquoise. And then let's do black. I'm going to do black on a few things here. I'm going to turn over my spiral and do black on the other side. So here is my other side. And what I'm going to do is put black on the entire thing. And this is just going to make it a black spiral on the back. All right, and for this one, my heart, I'm going to add black to the edges too. Now I am leaving like some like little blotchy pieces. I don't mind that personally. I think it's kind of cute to have a little bit of an organic look. That's, you know, tie-dye is kind of like watercolor and you can let the negative space shine through sometimes. So now I'm going to go into my triangle one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dye the edges with black. And that's going to give you that sort of over-dyed look just on the edges. You don't want to go crazy with it. And you can kind of move in the grooves. If you don't have black, you can just use another color. Like you could do, you know, the blue or something. The dark color is usually the best to go to do that. Okay, so this one's like really messy. So what I'm going to do is put this one straight into my plastic bag. because it's ready to batch. I don't really want to get more color. You can also kind of peek inside to make sure you're getting enough coverage. Like maybe I'll put some more red in the corners here, just inside of those folds. Let's see. Yeah, maybe a little more purple too. Because this is going to give you sort of that starburst look, these corners. So you want to make sure the corners are nice and dyed. Okay, more navy too. So it pays to take your time and look in the nooks and crannies. Okay, this one's done. Ready to go into my plastic bag. And I'm going to keep this covered for 24 hours. And then tomorrow I'm going to open up everything for the results. So my spiral is also done. Let's see, maybe I'll add some more black on these little parts here, but it's looking really good. Put this in. Here it is. So then tomorrow, when I open these, I'm going to rinse them with cold water until the water runs clear. And then I'm going to wash them with hot and Centrapol. Okay, so let's just finish these up here. I have magenta. We're almost done. Does anyone have any questions? One thing I would recommend is using the lightest colors first when you're putting down dye, because you can always cover them up if you get too much on. And just adding the colors the same as the other side. Just going to use up the rest of this black. Very nice. Get this one in a bag.
Catherine, Helen has a question. Can you describe again how the black will look on the spiral shirt? Will there be black on both sides?
Yeah, so it'll be black on the back. The way I did it on only on the back. So it'll be black on the back, and it might have some peeking through on the front. But probably not a lot. If you don't want to use black, you don't have to. You can also just repeat the same colors. If you want to be the same on the front and the back, you can repeat the same colors, just the pie pieces on both. That is totally fine. And it will give you like the same result, or you can use a different color other than black, like you can use blue or whatever. All right, so
great. And then I'm sorry, Judith has one question too. Wash in the washer after color runs clear?
yes, exactly. I like to wash it by hand too before I put it in the washer, just like in the sink. You know, the water runs clear, you're washing it with cold, then you just flip it to hot, and you can wash it kind of real quick in the sink too. And if your washer has like an extra rinse option, that's always good too. And one thing people always ask is like, is it going to stain your washer? I've never had it stain my washer. And I've washed so much stuff in my washer. So. Let's do some blue. All right.
Sanford would like to know if they will see the finished product. Do you want to revisit that again?
Yeah, so this all tie-dye takes 24 hours to set. So tomorrow I'm going to be opening up my tie-dye on my YouTube live. And so that way you can see them as they open. You can also watch it later. You don't have to tune in live. So unfortunately, no, you're not going to see the finished product to right now, because that's just the nature of tie-dye and Procion dye. And the reason is like, it just needs time to set into, it just needs that time to set into the fibers. I've heard of people, you know, putting it in a really hot room or in the sun to kind of activate it a little bit, but you know, best practice and surefire best results are going to be to just wait it out. All right, just finishing this up. I got chatting and we're running a little late, so I apologize, but almost finished. And I'm really excited to see how these turn out tomorrow. Okay, so this looks good. Time to put it in bag. There we go. We're gonna just put this one in. And I like to do them separately so that it doesn't get mixed up. You know, it can happen a little bit within itself, but let's see, this one's last. Let's do teal and some yellow and navy. We'll just keep this one kind of in this end of the color wheel here. Let's do some navy. Okay, so checking the other side just to make sure it's nice and got a little nice coverage. Oh, I'm just taking time to color up any like red or anything I see best I can. Okay. So there we go. I have 5 shirts and I'm going to let them batch overnight, and then I'm going to open them and rinse them and wash them tomorrow. And I'm going to keep my gloves and my dye in like a little box all together so that tomorrow, in case I want to add some dye, I can, in case there's like some spots that I don't like. So that's a good tip. And these gloves are really sturdy, so they definitely will be able to be used again. So that concludes the demo for today. Does anyone have any last minute questions before we sign off?
Just thanks. Thanks a lot for a beautiful presentation.
Oh, thank you. You're very welcome.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. Lauren and I were back here while we were on mute talking about how much we were learning as we went along. So that was really great. All right, well, I guess we can go ahead and end things then. I'll go ahead and